The French colonization of Africa was a major part of the European scramble for Africa in the 19th and early 20th centuries. France established one of the largest colonial empires on the continent, transforming the political, social, and economic landscape of African societies. In this video, we'll explore the history of French colonization, its major events, and the lasting impact it has left on Africa and the world. The colonization of Africa by European powers, including France, began in earnest during the scramble for Africa in the late 19th century. By this time, France had already built a colonial empire in the Americas and Asia, but Africa became a major focus of its imperial ambitions. The Berlin Conference, 1884 to 1885. The Berlin Conference played a pivotal role in the division of Africa among European powers. The conference aimed to regulate colonization and trade in Africa, with France claiming vast territories in North, West, and Central Africa. France's colonial vision. The French government promoted a colonial policy based on civilizing the local populations through assimilation. This was known as the Mission Civilisatrice, which sought to spread French culture, language, and values to African societies. Early French presence in Africa. France had already established coastal trading posts in Senegal and along the coast of present-day Gabon. However, it was during the late 19th century that France expanded deeper into the interior, seeking to establish a vast empire. One of the key regions France focused on during its colonization efforts was West Africa, where it established French West Africa, Afrique Occidentale Française, AOF, a federation of 8 colonies. The conquest of the Sahel. French military forces, led by generals like Louis Faidherbe, embarked on campaigns to conquer the Sahel region, subduing powerful kingdoms such as the Tukulur Empire and the Wassoulou Empire, led by Samori Touré. The conquest was brutal, with indigenous resistance often met with overwhelming force. French administration in West Africa. France set up centralized administrations, where local rulers were often replaced by French-appointed governors. Africans were expected to assimilate into French culture, and French became the official language in these colonies. Economic exploitation. France sought to exploit the natural resources of West Africa, particularly through agriculture. Cash crops such as peanuts, cotton, and rubber were cultivated for export, with Africans forced to work on plantations under harsh conditions. While West Africa was a key focus of French colonization, North Africa was perhaps even more significant, particularly with the colonization of Algeria. The conquest of Algeria, 1830. France's colonization of Algeria began earlier than most other African territories. In 1830, French forces invaded Algeria, and by 1848, Algeria was formally annexed as part of France. French settlers, or Kholens, were encouraged to move to Algeria, and large numbers of indigenous Algerians were dispossessed of their land. The administration of Algeria. Algeria was unique in the French Empire because it was considered an integral part of France rather than a colony. The indigenous population, however, was subject to discriminatory laws, and Algerians were treated as second-class citizens under French rule. Tunisia and Morocco. France established protectorates over Tunisia in 1881 and Morocco in 1912, maintaining local monarchs but effectively controlling the countries. Both Tunisia and Morocco became key parts of France's North African Empire, serving as sources of raw materials and labor. The French colonization of Africa was often met with fierce resistance from indigenous African kingdoms and societies, leading to a series of violent conflicts. The French military played a crucial role in subduing resistance and maintaining control over the colonies. Despite French efforts to suppress resistance, there were several notable uprisings against colonial rule. For example, the Maji-Maji Rebellion in German East Africa, now Tanzania, and the Bambara Rebellion in Mali exemplified African resistance to European imperialism. The end of colonialism. The independence movements of the mid-20th century were shaped by decades of colonial rule and the nationalist movements that swept through Africa. By the 1960s, most French colonies had gained their independence, but the legacy of colonization continues to affect the region today. Conclusion: the French colonization of Africa had a profound and lasting impact on the continent, shaping its political borders, economy, and cultural landscape. Understanding this history is essential to grasping the complexities of modern-day Africa. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more history content.